Hey, hi, hello. It's me, Baldy. You may know me from such things as Baldy, this channel, or not at all, which is much more likely. So I watched D'Angelo's video on Critical / Penguin Zero / Charlie, and his hot take on iDubbbz's recent video, where basically he apologized for all of his past content cops and a lot of the things that he had said and put out there. And YouTube comments can't really hold all the esoteric garbage and the run-on sentences that I have when I write out a YouTube comment, because I don't know how to formulate my thoughts in a way that is sensible for the normal person to hear, or to read. So instead, I'm going to have you hear me out if you want to hear me. I'll also be fletching some logs along the way. But, yeah, just as D'Angelo had accepted iDubbbz's personal apology for all the hate and negativity that it fostered for black people, the trans people, minorities, and basically everyone else he's heard over the years, I'm also here to agree, I have a differing perspective on the situation, though, not just as the minority, but as the piece of shit person, I'm kind of that side of the person who, while he didn't apologize to that side, I'm involved. I've said all the bad things. I also want to say, D'Angelo, from me to you, I genuinely appreciate you making a concise, well-said reasoning as to why I resonate so much with iDubbbz's apology. I was, and in some aspects of my life, still am affected by that era of content. The harm it caused. I was bullied and told to accept it as comedy. I've been told, and still am, incredibly insecure. It reflected as my apathy grew towards the tyranny of the internet hive mind. Dubzy was one of the most quoted things in all of my friend groups, to the point where it was kinda culty, not gonna lie. The indoctrination thing, super real. I hated myself and I hated everyone else. And that was edgy and cool online, but, pretty terrible for everywhere else, your social life, being a decent human being. And I didn't get why, they're just words, to quote iDubbbz. And sometimes the people who are anti-one slur would turn around and be hateful to someone else. Like the select few black kids who'd make fun of the gay kids but would still get offended. As a huge winner of the Oppression Olympics, as it's been called, by Hispanic, black, also white, I had to either beat them or join them, I felt. That was the general sentiment with all kinds of online discourse at the time. It always felt like there was one minority hating another minority for not being minority enough. We hate the people who hate us and perpetuate the same stigmas as those with the power, those who don't have the minority status, those who lack any attachment to a slur's negative connotation. They are more prone to use them because it didn't affect them. You see what I'm getting at? I felt the popularity of the classic iDubbbz line of either all of it's okay or none of it's okay had resonated with the hate that we had for those who hated us. If you were an insecure basement dweller, like myself, this was enough reasoning to beat him or join him, because hurting someone else back feels good, It's revenge, kind of, and you could play it off by accepting whatever they slew at you with apathy, baby. If I was called the N-word, the F-slur, which was common, or whatever they chose, it was fine, because I could hit them back with the same energy or worse. And both of us pretend it's okay because it doesn't affect me. I don't care. And over the years, I realized how much my environment and the content I consumed has affected me, and likely an entire generation of pseudo-intellectuals with extremely antisocial tendencies. It took D'Angelo's breakdown for me to see the more insidious aspects of the content that I enjoyed. What's crazy is I still think back to a lot of it, like Leafy and, iDubbbz at the time, and now I still kind of find it funny, but for different reasons. Primarily, wow, no one's this forward about these terrible ideas on purpose, right? But back then, I found it funny because I housed those same terrible ideas. I perpetuated the same hate. Even though, he totally was perpetuating these terrible ideas, it felt so unhinged and disconnected from who I am now that I didn't associate it as bad content. I almost want to sad laugh just at the idea that people attach to these ideas and form their entire personas from them. And despite the discourse around iDubbbz, it's clear his apology was not only sincere, denouncing the troubling aspects of his community and himself, but a wake-up call to those who haven't grown along with him, that this behavior is, fucked. I still find myself not really sanitized of the language because of my family and environment. I was raised and kind of still am in Kensington, Philly, home to a few gangs, K&A gang, Irish mob. They became a thing. They're still out. There were Bloods and it's all very real. For those who don't live in well-to-do areas, they can let you know. But still, we're progressing past the point of self-hate and apathy. And despite my lack of deep political inclinations now, I feel the divide softening, at least. Well, at least online. As we begin to accept that the comments we respond to aren't just text on a screen, that likes and subs aren't numbers, that on the other side, they are people. People who have feelings and experiences that you will never truly understand. And they can only condense all of their being in a few characters, or a video snippet, or a meme. Just something to represent all that they are, and it's never going to be enough. You know, despite the general sentiment of empathy, you know, not really being universal, at the very least our content spaces have moved towards empathy. Our discussions have become about humanity, and now iDubbbz has moved on too. There can be comedy without hate. There can be discussion without apathy, and there can be communication without debate. You know, what I'm saying is I'm hopeful for the future. At least on my slice of the internet. And as one of many minorities affected, I forgive iDubbbz personally as well. As D'Angelo put it in his acceptance, you can still be deeply affected by the hate and culture he cultivated and never forgive him, but I myself still see the sentiment as truly positive with this apology and with everything that he said. You know, it's a step in the right direction to dissent not only apathy, but the use of hurtful slurs and bullying for a brighter future. To let those who used his argument as a shield against criticism to see that it's no longer about them, and that their attitudes are no longer wanted by the man they idolized. He is not for those drawn to hate. I also want to clarify, this isn't a video to double down on Charlie not understanding these values, or failing to see the apology was never meant for him, but to highlight my love towards the idea of a brighter future with kinder people who learn how to have conversations without demeaning, devaluing, or disregarding another's experience. Criticism and skepticism aren't passes for racism or bigotry. This is hard, you know, it was a hard pill for me to swallow. For the past few years, I've been pretty shitty, not gonna lie. I'm no saint. I've said the slurs, and I do terrible things. I'm human, at the end of the day. And just because you spend a large portion of your life being terrible to others, though, it doesn't mean you don't have the capacity to change. Just because you apologize doesn't mean someone has to forgive you. At the end of the day, with every person and experience you have, what determines your place in the world is the effects you had on others. Your words, your actions, you. So, hey, even if you've been a piece of shit most of your life, like me, or you spread hate, like Ian, you can grow. You can change. You do not need to keep pretending because no one likes the guy who likes no one. Unless you're Activision. Then I don't know if you can ever change, you money-hungry piece